when we did the Indiana lift and had the Indiana Jones up in the air and everybody sitting there going, "You all are crazy." That was worldwide. So, I remember it was what was up in the loft. They all wanted to know.
Morning guys, it's Andy from Motos, Caves and Coffee. I got another special episode of Legends of Arcade. Today I'm on the road, about a 12-13 hour round trip drive to go to West Virginia to talk with Marc. He is the owner and originator of MidAtlantic Arcade and Pinball Exchange, one of the first pages on Facebook catering on the East Coast, catering to arcade and pinball enthusiasts. It is the most well-known on the East Coast, the most well-attended, the most interaction, and we're going to see how he came up with the idea, what he decided to do with it, and how he maintains it, and just the interaction and everything. So we're going to talk with him about that. He's also an extremely well-known arcade and pinball enthusiast. He has many of each, has some unique and creative ways to get his pinballs to his arcades in barn, so hopefully we get to see some of that and see some of his collection. So let's head out the door and talk with Marc. Alright guys, I made it to Marc's place. Chickens greeted me. Hello, they like my truck. Who doesn't, right? So we'll go say hi, and I come bearing a few gifts, and then we'll see if we can talk to him in a bit. Alright everybody, it's Andy. There's Marc. Again, a pleasure to meet you.
Good meeting you.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit. Oh, you can see he's all mic'd up about his arcades right here, his shop, and a little bit about why he was considered a legend in the arcade industry here. All right, so one of the things that I really wanted to ask you about, and I think what a lot of people know you from, is MidAtlantic Arcade and Pinball Exchange. That is a mouthful to say. Everyone just calls it MidAtlantic for short.
Right.
And you are administrator there, and you started it on Facebook, is that?
That's correct.
All right, so what I can tell you is that's probably the most popular Facebook page for arcades, especially on the East Coast, and it's probably been one of the longest, best attended Facebook pages for arcaders and resources, period, in the internet. There's others that are larger, others that are bigger, but that's the one that's probably been most established and well known. So how did you come up with the idea? And tell me your background on that one.
So we had a small server, little blog type page that the local, very local, Charleston, Huntington, West Virginia folks would get on and we would talk. Well, some of our members were going to Facebook and fewer were getting on the dedicated blog, so we went ahead and I kind of thought, well, I'll start a group. Right. And this was back, really Facebook was just starting the group setup, so I was probably one of the first actual arcade groups to set up. But the idea was to capture some of the friends that had already left. Well, as we went to Facebook and more people grew, it was just West Virginia Arcade. Okay. It then grew to MidAtlantic. And
what year did it start and what year did it switch? Roughly.
Well, I think the name change was really the first year. It was the same. It started and then it changed fairly quickly.
And what year did you start? Do you remember?
I don't even remember at this point. 2012 maybe. I mean, it's been a long time. Oh, wow. It's been a while. So, but the group, I think we're kind of unique in the sense that we don't allow all the fighting. And we don't allow. Yeah, we really don't. I don't enjoy when people start getting on each other. We just simply shut it down. And it's not to censor people, but it's not appropriate. So when people are selling, we try to let people, if they're going to sell and they sell high, that's fine. We'll let them sell high, but just leave them alone. Obviously if it's not going to sell, it's not going to sell. But that's kind of the attitude. But it's been a good group. A lot of people, I've met people, everywhere from literally Alabama all the way up to New York that have traveled here. Of course, where Andy's from in Maryland, I've got a lot of friends in Maryland too, and certainly I travel there and they come here. So, but it's been a great group for discussion and resources, and we don't lock it to regional. I know a lot of the people get upset because somebody in Florida or somebody out in the Midwest, is a member. But I drive. I've driven as far as Alabama to buy a pinball before, probably farther, but that's the first one that comes off top of my head that I've been. But 8-9 hours, it's not unreasonable. And people, if there's something out in the Midwest that I see, I drive out there. So, so we don't lock it to region. We don't get into the politics. We try to steer clear. There's a broad spectrum of people, in terms of beliefs and everything else. But that's just something that on the arcade group, it's about arcades, and that's what we've kept it to.
Other questions on how do you moderate it? Like, do you add moderators to it? Is it all you?
So. No, it's not all me. There's 4 or 5 admins that basically moderate the content, and all of us are very similar in terms of our personalities. Right. I had actually at one point I had pulled a lot of moderators in, but what I found was if you get a lot of people, you get personalities starting to conflict between the moderators and the people that they're being, checked or whatever it may be. So we've just kept it to a small group. We keep our personalities out of it. So if something's going on, typically if there's a fight between 2 people, you try to separate them, trying to get them to block each other, whatever it might be.
How do you pick your pictures?
It just depends on whatever looks cool. I like to include the people, the members.
Yeah.
I think even right now it's probably a picture up here in the game room, but I try to, if I see a cool picture, I put it up, and I like it. I mean, it doesn't have to be mine, certainly.
Okay.
So.
And any fun stories that you have that involve the board at all, or the page?
Not so much.
People like from all over the world contacting you. What do you find that USA?
It just depends. I mean, I know when we did the Indiana lift and had the Indiana Jones up in the air and everybody sitting there going, "You all are crazy." That was worldwide. So I remember it was what was up in the loft. They all wanted to know what, and they sent me messages saying, "Okay, we want pictures of your game room." But no, there's some fun stories. I mean, it just, when you get out there and you get, people know me in the area. Typically, if somebody's selling something, I'll get a message saying, "Hey," and that's true. Even with the group, I mean, I've had members contact me and say, "Marc," and Andy's a good example of this. "Marc, there's something local to you. Can you go grab it for me?" It was a good deal, and I've seen some crazy deals that I've gone and picked up and put downstairs. I won't say any names, Mr. Rupert, but people treat you good. I mean, it's a fun experience. So. And
I'll ask this. This is one of my standard questions. Do you find the community is pretty tight, pretty small? Do you know a lot of the folks within the community?
I generally do, yes. And I think they sort themselves out. You get a lot of great people. The few people that are problems, they're very easy to spot in this group. So it's really a good experience.
Well, let's take a little look around the workshop and the arcade if we can a bit. Okay. What can you tell me? So this is your workshop here?
This is, it's my garage. Which,
sure.
We'll call it a workshop, but all the projects are down here. So, you can see I've got parts drawers. It's got a little bit of everything in them.
Oh, wow. That's nice. Are they actually like all your T parts in there? Oh, I see you have the names of stuff on it. That's smart.
It actually,
wow.
So that's how I keep organized. I've also got a coil cabinet. So, if you see it's over there, we'll take a look at it. But lots of little drawers. So all this stuff is just parts. It's machines being fixed. It's not stuff that I'm generally keeping. There's a few things in here now that's, at some point I'm trying to set up like a little diner area down here. But you can see monitors. There's extra a little bit of everything.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
But you can see this is, there's just stuff everywhere. You can see, there's always something. But the problem is people call me and it's like, what do? You say no, or you go get the stuff. So, Andy, his Space Invaders is right here.
Woo! That's the whole reason I came here. Can you give me a little walk down of what we got in here?
So, like I said, I've been going more and more towards pinball, so you can kind of see the machines. We'll start here. You've got Whirlwind, a lot of Pat Lowler machines here. Actually, some of his earliest ones, first 3 anyway. So Whirlwind is fairly recent. Had it for less than 6 months. Funhouse is the one I've had the longest. I've actually done a playfield swap in it. It's the first machine that I ever completed a playfield swap in, and not an easy task in my opinion. I know some people are good at it. I'm somewhat a novice when we get to that type of thing. Adam's family, I will say one thing: when you get into DMD machines and get the color DMDs and things like that, once you start, you're not going to stop with the color DMDs. I hate to say it, and they're expensive. So, Indiana Jones is a classic. All of these machines, again, I got them before they got too crazy in prices and so on. Safecracker is probably my most unusual machine.
Okay.
Again, another Pat Lauer machine, but it actually shoots tokens out, and the pure pinball fanatic isn't necessarily a big fan of Safecracker. It is a board game up on the glass, and you're really playing to play the board game. As long as you keep that in mind, it is a super fun game, very unique and different. Reunion machine is actually an arcade SD,
Okay.
So that's my multi-game. It takes care of all the arcade games that I don't have space for. I now have something. Of course, the Reunion is interesting because it's a 25-inch monitor. But you can see the graphics it was all done, unique to or should I say, true to the real game as far as the control panel. Joust came from Allentown years ago. So,
there's your favorite.
That was my $200 Joust that I bought up in Allentown. Believe it or not, working at the time. So, the crane machine, believe it or not, is probably the most played machine when it comes to, if we have get-togethers. The kids get on that, and they just truly, that's what they play. They'll play it, and it's just nonstop.
On free play, I'm guessing.
No.
Oh,
It's
nice.
got the old-fashioned tokens, so the kids, they can get their Chuck E. Cheese cup, which actually no longer can get because they all went to credit cards, and actually I think they're more or less went bankrupt these days. So, but the token machine is set up so if you press the money return, it'll actually give you tokens that way. So it's still free play, but you've got to go through the step of getting the tokens and putting them in, and you get the quarter drop, which is kind of a cool
That's really
feeling.
cool.
So then behind you, we've got the Whitewater and Medieval Madness remake. So Whitewater is a fairly new machine. I haven't even gone through it at this point. It's up and running. But what I'll do, one thing you may have noticed over by the crane, is one of the first things I do to a machine is all the light bulbs come out. And really one of the biggest, especially with these, there's so many light bulbs up here. You've got 30 light bulbs behind a translite typically. All that power, and you're pulling all that through those connectors, and you end up with burnt connectors. So keep in mind, when you put LEDs in there, 10 LEDs to one incandescent. Medieval Madness came from actually Rockland Pinball up in New York, so I kind of get around and do quite a bit, but it's been new in about the last 3 or 4 months. I got it, but
It's a great bashing game. Looks really nice.
Slugfest is my pinball that's not a pinball, but anyway, Slugfest. This came out of, believe it or not, a thrift store fairly recently. It was a good buy, but literally in a thrift store, and found it under an old mattress, and brought it back here. It needed a little repair, but nothing too bad.
Okay, looks nice.
And then Wizard of Oz is the only machine that my wife told me to get, so I blame that one on her. But
Okay.
the Daytonas, which I've got one of the marquees out, but I'm getting ready to put the race leader signs in where it says Sega, so that's kind of why that's out. But those are 600 pounds each, so getting them up here, it's the second story. I tell everybody it's the Johnny Cash method, so I took them completely apart and brought each little piece up and then reassembled them up here.
Cool. Oh, we got another little room here. All right. What do we got?
So this is actually the kids' console room. You can see the games, but there's a big TV, and you've got the Xboxes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Needless to say, I've kind of crept in here with the pinball. But this is a No Good Gophers I picked up from a guy a couple weeks ago. Very dirty right now, but it's in the process of getting shopped.
Play feels okay.
It looks pretty good. It'll shine up nice once it's done. But
okay. And yeah, again, he picked up a game very local for me, to him, not for me. Did it again out of the kindness, and much appreciated. So thank you for doing that.
Yep, you're welcome.
And that's actually going to be a second video, which hopefully you'll check it out. Making 2 videos here, so so really that's my questions. I wanted to thank you again for letting me talk with you.
Okay.
So thank you again. Well, please check out MidAtlantic Arcade and Pinball Exchange, MidAtlantic on Facebook. Again, thank you, Marc, and please like and subscribe and leave comments below. And thanks again.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right. Real quickly, how long have you been into arcading?
So probably first machine I ever got was back in 1986.
1986.
So bought a Vanguard at the Reading Auto Show.
Okay.
So pretty much, I was a teenager in the 80s and had actually owned arcade machines back in the 80s. So
kind of in the heyday.
It kind of did, yeah. I actually was able to buy my first computer because of arcades, as far as earning off them.
And so what I understand is back in the heyday, and talking to a lot of early operators, is that they had to buy them new. There was not like a bunch of used arcades out there. Did you find similar, or?
So I wasn't an operator. I was just, but my dad had an office, so we were able to I had a public, location I could put them. But back then, when the arcades were done, as far as an operator was done with a machine and it wasn't earning, they offloaded them. And I think I paid $160 for my first machine. Second machine I bought was a Wizard of War. First one was Vanguard. Second one was Wizard of War, and it was $200.
Oh my God.
So arcades, I hate to say it, back then, if they didn't earn, they were in the dump.
Out, right?
They were tossed. Or they were gutted and converted. I mean, people wonder why they see so many conversions. But
Arkanoid and all sorts of, you're right.
But over the hill was not an unusual term to hear. So, yeah, I threw a couple of them over the hill. It's like, oh my gosh. So
burn them or just smash them up? Or?
Just smash them up. So, now certainly I didn't do that, but, I heard about it. And probably one of the times that we really got into my first getting into a warehouse was up in Clarksburg, West Virginia.
Yep.
There's a place called American Vending, and we went in there and you could buy anything you wanted for $125. And I still remember buying a Cubert. It didn't work, so the guy threw two of them at me for $125.
Oh my goodness! Right.
So, and they both actually got them both working. They both had bad power supplies, so it was kind of crazy as far as you could get anything you wanted. It's not quite like today, is it?
Right. Where you're searching and scrounging and picking and get now. Because the internet wasn't around so much, how did you learn how to fix?
Well, some trial and error. So I've made my mistakes, trust me. But at the same time, I've got some electronics background, electrical background. So, a lot of it's been very much. I mean, even capping monitors and everything. I might have somebody show me, and then you start in on them, and you learn one type to the next, and you use the old flow charts and things like that. But
and did you get any of the manuals as well too, or just mainly the flow charts? Or
not so much manuals. I mean, the old. I'm trying to think of the guy's name that makes the flow charts. But a lot of the monitors. Wells Gardner, some of the mainstream type chassis like that. I got pretty good at doing those.
Right.
Now you get some of these oddball chassis, the HAP chassis and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yes. Those are a little bit of a little bit of wing and a prayer trying to get those running again. But for the most part, I've kind of learned by experience and sticking with Midways and Pac-Mans and things like that. Most of the time, you're dealing with Wells Gardner stuff, which
Geo7 maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Geo7s, K7000s. You can kind of see. I mean, they've got chassis.
Right. Well, we'll take a look at some of the shops here. Now, before we get in the shop a little bit, you started arcades. And you've kind of been switching a little bit more towards pinball, you say, lately as well?
Yeah, so, I mean, initially it was all arcades.
Right.
I'd bought, especially in college, I kind of got used to some of the pinball machines that were out. So Funhouse was my first pinball.
Okay.
And then it kind of, I rolled in and would get a few more of them, but, arcades were much cheaper. And so the pinballs kind of came, and it just a slow trade up. I mean, you buy and sell, and you trade the paper clip for the pen for the pocket knife type thing, and you just keep going, and it might take 5 pocket knives before you get your next step up. But at the same time, that's pretty much what happened. I mean, when I bought Adam's Family, I sold 11 arcade machines to pay for it.
Right. Okay.
Of course, back then I think I paid $3,600 delivered for Adam's family. So,
Good luck with
you know,
that.
that's not today, right?
Yeah.
So,
And have you? What's the oldest machine you have like that you've kept the longest? Or yeah.
probably Funhouse actually.
Okay.
I've had machines multiple times. I mean,
Right.
Wizard of War, I've had probably 3 or 4 of them. Trying to think of, Funhouse is probably the oldest machine I've got in terms of length of time. So.
And because I know everyone will want to know, what if you had to pick one, what's a favorite pinball? What's a favorite arcade right now?
Well, Joust is always the arcade that I kind of fall back to. It's especially a childhood favorite, but
Not Joust 2?
no, you know what? I don't know if I ever even played Joust 2. It's terrible.
It's
you know,
terrible.
I mean, but as far as pinball goes, that's a tough sell. I would say Adam's Family.
Okay.
It's still my favorite. If I had to only keep one, it'd be a tough call because there's some really good machines, and I've got about 11 machines right now. Okay. 10 if you don't include Slugfest, which is not really a pinball. So.
Oh, very good.